Yo, 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 what's going on? This is the NRW, where nerds rule the world. It's your boy, Kuyapi, aka Patrick Michael Strange, the Adobro, the Babinka boy, the leader of the Hala Hala homies in the Cine gang of the ShoPowSho, and we are back for another episode. And as y'all know, one of our amazing ates, Miss Cataphoric, is over in Japan teaching, which is her passion, and we love her for that. We will have her back when she is available, but I do have one of the other amazing ates, as always, fresh from the stuffy spa, as she brings back those precious love stuffed dolls that we now love. But because, you know, as we get older, we get a little bit, you know, abusive to it. So they get tattered a little bit. So shout out to Tina that she brings the love back to it and rejuvenates that plushie with her stuffy spa. How are you today at the stuffy spa, Tina?
I'm doing great, and I wanna throw it back to Miss Cataphoric because today's her birthday.
Oh, hey!
So, reporting, happy birthday, Cat. We miss you so much.
Definitely, happy birthday, Cat. All the love, Mahakita. Miss you. So yeah, as of this recording, when this actually drops, it may not be her birthday, but she'll see the love is always there, no matter where we are, what time it is. We love you. So Tina, today we have a hot one, and it's going to be a love story.
Yes.
Are you excited?
I'm excited.
Super excited. When we put together ShoPowSho, we as Philams, we wanted to give love and light to those of us in the industry that we've met and encountered, and also explore and meet new people that we may not have met, and learn about ourselves, because as an American, you're in a white dominated society, you don't really get that Filipino, that culture. And one of the things as I was investigating to learn more about myself is I've learned about gong music and how Filipinos have, kind of taken this art form and just how other art people have taken from our art form and not always give us that love back. And one of the groups I came across, and then they also, when I found out that they were reaching out to me as well, is KULINTRONICA. And I learned about the amazing Ronald Querian and his amazing wife, Lydia Querian, with her own amazingness, the Daily MALONG. I was like, all right, the universe is speaking to me. Like, they know that we're looking out for them, and they're also looking out for us. We're all giving back, and that's what I love about our people. And so today we're gonna get that. Today is gonna be a special day. Let me go ahead and bring them on. I'm gonna shoot off the air horns. Y'all know how I love air horns. You're now gonna see them on the screen. There they are. Ronald Querian, Lydia Querian from the Daily MALONG, and KULINTRONICA, Gongsters Paradise. We're gonna learn all about that. There you go. They're on the screen. Hey, how are you today?
Hello.
Aloha. Thank you for having us.
Definitely. Thank you both for your time. Just again, Ron, I don't think you knew that before you kind of reached out, I was also peeping you as well in what y'all were doing, and going to eventually send that email. Hey, would y'all be interested in coming on so we could, learn more? Because, as an American Philam growing up here in the States, it's not in American history, or at least we get the negative elements. I had to learn about Gabriela Salong on my own. I had to learn about Lapu Lapu on my own. Just all of these Larry Itlong on my own, because it's not in American history a lot. We don't get that in school. So when I wanted to do this podcast, I'm like, let's learn. And for Tina as well, if you want to speak to that, Tina, with how you.
I've never heard of the gong music before, so I think a good place to start would be, can you guys give us a brief overview of what you guys do?
Yeah, I did not know that, Kuya P, that you were looking me up probably around the same time that I was looking you guys up too. And I think that's part of where we're at as a collective, right? Is we're all working our way up, and as we're climbing these stairs and putting each foot above the other on the ladder, we're looking to our left and our right, and we're saying, who else from our community is with us, right? And when we find those people, it's like, hey, I'm on this path, you're on this path, let's join forces and let's bridge together. So I'm so happy to be here on your show and to talk about these gongs that have made such a big impact in my life. I don't know if I'm capable of giving a brief description of this, but from the perspective of Philams that have not been fed this meal, in short, gong music is a part of pre-colonial Filipino life. So if you have roots in the Philippines, then you have roots with gongs. And these gongs have survived generations of outside influence, and they've persevered, they've stayed resilient, and they've made it to the 21st century so that you can hear them today. And for me, and I think for a lot of people that hear these gongs, something about the sound awakens something within you that makes you more hungry, makes you want to hear more. And that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm married to this beautiful woman that's on the other window. And without kulintang having come into my life, I don't know if I'd even be alive today, to be frank.
Aw.
Wow, that's so
Yes, that's the point that I've been waiting for. I want to hear about your guys' love story, about how you guys met, how you guys started doing music together. Where did this all start?
Okay, if I may, is this ladies first or?
Oh boy. Sure. So I think so. I've played gongs when I was in high school. We have all these. I grew up in Manila, right? So for me, there was a level of familiarity with the gongs, but not as visible as how it has been in my life right now. When I moved to the United States, there were more gongs for some reason, and being able to be around the eclectic and artistic community of San Francisco, that has given me kind of like the energy to like really seek more, because I know that there's more in there in the Philippines that's just not in a Manila centric culture, right? So I went back to Mindanao, went back to the Philippines, gone to Mindanao, and it's really beautiful to see how much alive the gong community there. It's like a normal thing, it's like something that's never been erased. And and I could just imagine, like, we've been colonized, imperialized for over 500 years, and you've got these small pockets of gong culture and kulintang culture that's just still so much alive and normal for a lot of people. And I find that my job at that point is to be able to shed a light on these unseen, unknown, unfamiliar culture, because for us in the diaspora, the most common cultural thing is like jeepney, Manny Pacquiao, that kind of stuff. The things you always see on like variety shows and stuff. They're not bad. They're still a good representation. But like, how about the ones that are pre-colonial? And that has brought me to like, being able to start and have the energy to do community organizing. And, I've been really deeply involved with the dance community in San Francisco. And that's pretty much how I landed into an event where I met this white looking guy who's playing my pre-colonial instrument. So I think it's about 9 years ago this day, or it was like the other day, June 12th. It was like a kalayaan gala in San Francisco that I was co-organizing with a bunch of people. And I think at that time, Ron had just gotten back from a long journey to Hawaii. And I saw him on stage play the kulintang. So I elbowed my friend and I was like, hey, what's that white guy doing with my instrument? Because I'm just like, is he Filipino? Meanwhile, apparently he was asking about me at the backstage with one of my co-dancers. And at that point, he didn't know that I was a dancer. And then, I will leave the rest of that story to Ron because he tells this story better than I do. But basically it started with the gongs and then,
That's funny, Ron. I think that's hilarious because, like, you know, me and Patrick, we're mixed kids. We get that too. It's like, who's this white looking? Like, no, I'm Filipino, I promise.
Yeah, and for the record, that's probably mean to say because, you know, again, the monolithic mindset, we don't like that. But at that point, he just looked like he was ready to like attack me or eat me alive or whatever. So I'm just like, you know, don't come to me doing that when you're playing my instrument. What are you? Who are you? That kind of stuff. So
Yeah, yeah. And you already had your eye on her. That's hilarious.
Yeah, she was the brightest light that I could see from the stage, for sure. I had left the Bay Area to do some work in Hawaii, so I was away for about 2 years. And as your listeners probably know, the Bay Area, there's a thriving scene for Filipino arts, and there's a lot of creatives that are coming out of that area that are doing some great work. And I'm definitely blessed to have grown up in that community. I shouldn't say grown up in that community because I grew up in the suburbs, right? I grew up in the suburbs where passing for white was extremely valuable, right? But on the flip side, pun intended, I also was that much farther away from the cultural resources. So it wasn't until I was an adult and out there playing music and getting outside of the suburb where I grew up when I started to get exposed to this amazing art scene. And once I got my foot in the door there, the people there definitely valued anything that I did that spoke to being Filipino, and being in that community kind of nurtured me out of that, nurtured me out of a Western mindset and to try to ask questions and go deeper to find, more and more gongs. I think a lot of the people on your show, we're inspired by popular culture, right? These works that can give us a sense of identity and a sense of time, a sense of generation. And I was no different. And when I took up music, I was emulating those things. I was emulating rock music, heavy metal, grunge. And then, the more that I tried to, monetize and commercialize my craft, I got more into, top 40, dance music. And I was eventually, I was a gigging musician and I was playing popular music all over the Bay Area. And as great as that was, and being able to make a modest living doing that, performing popular music and instructing that popular music to kids, as great as that was, there was still something missing, and I think a lot of Filipino creatives have to kind of balance that, where you need to do something that sustains your art, but at the same time, you want to nurture something that really speaks to your own story.
Yeah. Amen.
Thanks. And I was fortunate to get a referral to a local group that was doing Filipino culture music. That's all they did. They did music for PCN, music for Filipino cultural night at the different colleges in the area. And they needed someone to sit in on guitar. And so I was like, okay, I can do that. That's a good gig. And, I learned the material. I rehearsed with them, all my guitar stuff. And I go to the first gig. This is in University of San Francisco. And I'm like ready with my guitar. It's all tuned up and ready to go. And the director says, "What are you doing? Put that away. We don't play guitars until the second act." I was like, "Oh, well then what are we going to do?" And he just hands me these sticks and he's like, "Sit next to me and I'm going to tell you what to do. And then you do it."
Oh my God.
So I was,
are you into it?
Yeah. I mean, that's the Filipino way, right? There's no audience. Like, I mean, if you're your audience one moment and the next thing you know, it's like, now it's your turn, get in there and show your stuff. So I found myself playing this percussion, these bamboo sticks. And then later, just a few minutes later, I was playing my first gongs. I didn't know what this was. But what I did know is that the applause that I got that night and the sense of community and family that was present at that show uh, filled that void that I was lacking. Playing in bars. That was like a pivotal moment for me. So I knew, I was like, okay, maybe I need to broaden my practice and instead of focusing on popular material, maybe I should learn about this other stuff. So I went deeper and deeper in with that group, played more gongs, and about 4 years later, 4 years and like almost 50 PCNs later, I finally met my master. Right when the student is ready, the master appears. And this is Danny Kalanduyan, who is the kulintang player that is responsible for creating the kulintang music scene in America. So when Lydia says that she found more gongs in America than she saw in Manila, it's because of the work of this guy, right? He spent his whole life in America proliferating gongs, exposing people through performances and training people who are interested on how to play it. And it was in his hands and in his group and amongst his students that I learned how to play kulintang. And the more I learned kulintang, I felt this responsibility. I was like, okay, I've got this skill set in popular music and I've got this skill set in traditional music. This is happening for a reason. So I have to do something with all these skill sets and put everything in one piece of music. And that's what eventually became KULINTRONICA, is blending this traditional aesthetic of gong playing with everything I learned about playing popular dance music, to try to bring kulintang to places that I knew Filipinos were hanging out and maybe missing out on things, and I'm a rave kid. I'm a recovering rave kid, and I would hear this. We're out there. I would hear these electronic tracks, techno tracks, trance music tracks at the time. That was the thing. And different producers would mix in little bits of like ethnic music, right? Like, oh, this one's got like classical Indian vibes and this one's got like African drums. And I knew, I was wondering, and I'm pretty sure that all the other Filipinos I was seeing at the raves too were wondering. It's like, where's the Filipino element into this, right? Because all of these traditions, have value, and so I felt like that was my role. I felt like I was literally put on this earth to do exactly that, and I didn't know where it was going to take me. I didn't know that by doing so, I would get this reputation in the Bay Area as someone that could do this like modern energy with this cultural flair. And so when I came back from Hawaii, after having finished that project, I was hired to do this gig at this Philippine Independence Day festival. And I was so excited. I was like, okay, I'm back in the Bay. I'm back where the gongs are really valued. And I'm going to make this, I'm going to put on my nice jacket and have this big debut. And I didn't know that night, my life would be changed by, seeing this beautiful woman in the audience that was basically running the event.
He was wearing a really nice jacket that night, though.
I love it. I love it.
It was my best jacket at the time. And, my cultural sensibility had not influenced my fashion decisions yet, at that moment. But, I had this feeling like there's sometimes in your life where like deep down that like this is your chance, right? This is your one shot. Even if you don't know why, like what it's going to lead to, you just kind of know like you gotta get it together and you gotta lose yourself in the music, and that's your moment. And I felt that day for some reason, and I knew I only had one chance to make an impression on this woman, and she was running the event, so everybody's coming at her. Everyone needs something from her, and she was like this young, gorgeous, shining star at the event. So everyone was trying to like make an impression on her. And so I thought, how am I going to stick out to this woman. And I thought, maybe I will, maybe I'll try like a little bit of salt, a little bit of abrasion on this, because, everyone's trying to be nice to her. And so I just took a chance on this strategy. And after my performance, I walked up to her and I said, "Hey, do you know what a kulintang is?" And she was pissed off. She was.
I did give him a really big eye roll.
The disrespect, huh?
I know, because shortly before that, I was just telling my friend, who is this guy playing my instrument? And then he asks me that question. Who does that?
Wow.
Hold up, sir. That bold. Spoiler alert, we know how it turned out, but like,
yeah.
so where did it go from
It really
there?
worked.
What convinced you to give him a chance?
Well, I answered with, "Are you even Filipino?"
Ouch.
Fought back.
And then at that time, I was holding my clipboard, so I was busy. So I'm just like, talk to my friend, who's a bye-bye artist. You guys might have heard him, Christian Kabuwai.
Yeah, I know it's a small world.
He's
And-
part of this love
Yeah.
story. And that's like another book to write. But so I left him with Christian. I was like, "I'm busy. Are you even Filipino?" So, later, bye, like, why?
I mean, that was all good because, Chris and I had been seeing each other at the different events, before Lydia came to town. So, she left me in good hands. But that's how it started. And, a couple weeks later, I got this idea. I was like, hey, I'm going to, after I eventually I learned that she was a dancer, I thought, oh, I make dance music. She dances. I have this other commitment for another event in a few months. Maybe you can dance for me. And so we started hanging out in dance studios and, making music and looking in mirrors together. And, nature started to take its course.
Aw. I love, y'all.
I love
Yeah.
Yes. Amazing.
where you create the opportunities for y'all to get closer. I love it.
So
Yeah, he basically, I think, well, a few days after that gala, we were on an actual like outdoor festival with a bunch of people. And then after he performed, because he performed again, he basically followed me around all day. And he was performing right before Apple Diap at that time. So I was on the side of the stage. And after he performed, he stood beside me and he's like, "Let's dance." And again, he was dancing like a white person.
Facts.
So I looked at him and I was like, so he probably doesn't know that I'm a dancer, for one. And then second, this is not how you hit on a woman. But I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna let you dance there. And I was just doing one of these, like, good job. You're doing great. But yeah, and then a few months later, he gave me a call. For some reason, he got my number, or no, it was Facebook Messenger, I think, because he added me on Facebook. And then every morning, there's like 50 likes from Ron.
let's go, Ron. I love it.
Like, was like, oh, someone's stalking my account and then my Instagram. And then I got that phone call and he said, I have a performance at the city hall and, it'd be nice to have some, someone to dance to my kulintang. And I'm like, okay, let me
that is.
let me get back to you on that. But, and at that time I was at the peak of my dance career, so to speak. And, I was pretty much just a dance whore, just taking on any gig I can.
Oh yeah.
I had nothing better to do. I have my 8-to-5 job. I had a corporate job at that time. And, dancing and, the arts and music, it's my kind of like my resting place. It's my church, because if I had not done that, I would be soaked up in the corporate world that I'm just gonna be like a dead body walking around those buildings of, I was in media at that time. So yeah, I took on the gig. We rehearsed a lot. We, and also I I dragged a fellow dancer with me because I'm just like, I don't know, this sounds shady, so I don't know if I'm comfortable being in one studio, just
So
him and
Filipino.
I, with
Mhm.
all of these rehearsals. So it's like, you're coming with me and performing with me. So I
Mhm.
dragged another co-dancer with me. We made it a duo, and after that we had multiple gigs together, and that's basically how it all started.
Falling into place. That's a smart technique. Fellas, if you're trying to woo a woman, get her some gigs. Get her some gigs and make sure she gets paid. That's smart.
Yeah, there's that too. And then I'm gonna tell the mirror story.
Oh,
So after that one gig, he was like, because we would go to a studio, so he had to drag all of his instruments. Like, so kulintang, there's like 8 gongs plus the stand plus everything else that goes along with it, with his music, right? His computer, all the chords and stuff. But he actually has a music studio in Oakland. So shortly after that, he was like, oh, I was actually thinking putting mirrors in my music studio so that when we do gigs again, we can just practice together in my studio. So I was like,
Mhm.
sure, let me take a look. And then he was like, but let's start with breakfast. So we ate at, I forgot the name of the restaurant, but it was like, it was a brunch, it was a diner. And it's like, okay, we ate breakfast, we were talking a lot, and this was the beginning of it because we were like really getting into like real good deep conversation. We're finding out the parallel things and the intersectional things between what we both like. um but at that time, I was at the end of my previous marriage. So, when we started getting deep that morning, I was like, wait a minute, just so you know, I'm married. I'm going to be honest with you.
Mhm.
whoa.
I'm at the tail end of it because I think I was like I was in the middle of a divorce at that time. So I don't, and I told him like I really feel like we're connecting, but I don't know if this is a good idea. And he's
Mhm.
like, no, we're just kind of like trying to figure out, we're putting mirrors on the stuff. Ron's really good at that, kind of like
Yeah.
doing this. So I'm like, okay, let's go to Home Depot and let's look at those mirrors. We look at those mirrors. We actually bought it that day. And in my head, I'm like, okay, this guy is just really trying so hard right now because, to be honest, there's no dance space in the studio.
Oh,
But he's really trying to like clean it up, put it together. But like
right.
I'm a tall Filipina. I'm like 5'6", not that tall, but like,
I mean,
if I stretch my legs up, I'm probably gonna kick one of his speakers or whatever, right? So that kind of stuff. But I'm like, okay, when I make it happen, I can make my movement smaller and all that stuff. So we bought the mirror and then we hang out in his studio for a while. We were still chatting, no sex, no kind of like whatever. It was just really like face-to-face conversation. And next thing you know, it's like dinner time, and he was just like, oh, let's get some dinner. But long story short, we were together until 3 a.m. that day.
wow, the
It's
whole
like, yeah, time just flew, and we were talking about different things. We were talking about music. I think what really connected us at that time is I think I was blown away by how familiar he is with OPM music. And in Manila, when I was living there, I was around the band scene a lot. So for me to find a Filipino American born and raised here to be familiar with that kind of music, it made me feel a little at home. So
It's a connection. Wow.
uh,
I was going to say, I was like, wow, you guys went to brunch and spent the whole day together and had dinner and then stayed together until 3 a.m. Like, that's real cute. That's real cute, y'all.
Nothing but heated dialogue too. When she made that when she made that revelation to me that, you know, she was still, you know, in a commitment, I felt like Wolverine. I felt like Wolverine watching Scott and Jean. I was like, oh, I'm on the outside of this.
Yes.
You know, but it's a timing thing.
You're like, oh, can I get in
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. You know, so that's what I thought, you know, because that was my book, right? X-Men. So I was like, okay, you know, Wolverine he just used patience, and he was there when she needed him, and you know, it may work out or it may not, but you know, he was really true to his feelings for this woman. So that was kind of my thought when that ball dropped. You know, one of the bands that we were talking about on that day was you know, this band that also uses kulintang in their recordings out of Manila that I'm pretty sure you guys like, this band Pinik Pikan. Like, cause you, in your intro music, you guys use that really slamming remix of Kahi Manawari on your show, which I like. You know, when I first checked out your show and I heard that, I was like, oh, I'm home. You know, this is where I'm gotta be. This is where I'm gonna live now.
yeah, and
Yeah.
also
Our original
I
music, our
hang
original
out
theme.
with that band, so we kind of bonded over that and many other bands that uses like tribal music into their contemporary music. So that was kind of like the beginning of it, and yeah.
Yeah, to connect some dots, you know, just, you know, I like to you know, observe, you know, the mysteries of the world when they appear. And you know, you guys use that music, the Kahimanawari, and that song is a song for a festival in Bukidnon. And I ended up working with this musician from Bukidnon. He's actually pictured right behind, you know, right on Lydia's background there. His name is Wawai Sawai. And we did one of his songs called River Clouds, which is still available. And so I did that song with him just a few weeks after I did a collaboration with Romeo Candido. And I didn't know this at the time, but Lydia was also friends with Wawai, and we you know, eventually, just by me trying to follow her around, you know, we got to stay at his place in Bukidnon and jam with him. So it's just one of those things, you know, when you have that, like, that feeling that something magical is possible, like that's what our ancestors would call like an omen, right? Like, and you're wise to listen to that and act on those moments, even though you don't fully understand the black and white. But if you can understand like the between the lines and you follow that, like it's gonna pay off for you.
Yo, Ron, let me tell you the wildness, because now how, like I told you how you reached out, but I was going to reach out to you. True story. So that was like our original theme music, right? That we were using, but then we started getting copyright hits. And I was told though that it was a DJ mix when I first found it. So, but it had a longer opening with that theme that they cut from, right? So we had to replace it. And that's how I stumbled across you. And I wanted to reach it because I love that opening intro. And that's like, even the video that we filmed to our opener is kind of, that's what I had playing as we filmed all that and we cut it together. And so, yeah, but then when we got hit, I was trying to find something similar and of that vein. And that's how I stumbled across you, and I was going to reach out. But then I had a DJ friend, Filipino DJ, because I wanted to keep, I try to keep everything Filipino on the ShoPowSho because I want to rep us through and through, behind the screen, everywhere. And so yeah, so the current music is my friend DJ Mighty, is our current theme. But shout out to Chris. But yeah, I was going to reach out to you to, because and actually now that we're getting to episode 100, this will be like episode 105, I think, looking at my schedule. But yeah, so hopefully, I want to bring in different music here and there. I would love to have a KULINTRONICA ShoPowSho collab at some point.
Yeah, appreciate that. And congratulations on hitting 100 shows. Like, that's really something. And I really love what you guys do, because what we need, what we as a community need is we need like an ecosystem, right? We need people on stage, we need people in front of the camera, behind the camera, in the offices fundraising. We need people, we need broadcasters like you, we need DJs, and we all we're like working in the margins, right? So we have to like employ each other and throw gigs at each other. So I appreciate that so much.
Most definitely. We're gonna definitely talk on it in the future, because I have some other things in the works that I'd love, because y'all gig out and do things like we're gonna make this an even deeper connection. But let's get back to your story. I love it, but it's wild how the universe works. So just hearing how y'all came together, and then like with Christian and my friend Lauren Lola's doing a book with Christian coming up. They just announced their graphic novel like on Twitter, I think, like the other day. I
just signed up for that too.
Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. It's just how wild this universe is all connected. Yeah. I love this. So you all fell in love. You both fell in love. So let's talk about how this, I'm assuming like in my marriage as well, you bring out the best in each other. You founded Daily Malong, Lydia, and then you with your KULINTRONICA, and then when did Gongsters Paradise, Gongs Away Music, because it's a festival from what I'm aware, what kind of came first? And let's go into how each this beautiful intersection that came with this union develops these other projects.
Yeah, yes. Thank you.
So I would go with Ron on his gigs, and
I came first.
Yeah, I would go on his gigs, and then if I'm not on his gigs, I'm on my own dance rehearsal. I'm part of this Filipino dance group in the Bay Area called Parangal Dance Companies. I've toured with them everywhere. And most of the time, they run out of, kulintang players. And, they would let me hit the agong or whatever. And that's kind of like, I love music. I used to play the bass guitar, like this is like forever ago, and I can't even hold it at this point. But and then I went on a tribal tour. So I think I mentioned earlier, I did go back to Mindanao, discovered all of these things that are still living, their living traditions and stuff. And I told myself that if I were to really go deeper into kulintang, which I really want to, I just need to find like the right time, the right instrument, and the right mindset of myself, right? And I gotta have like my own gongs. And I met some master artists there, and I was gifted with a really beautiful heirloom kulintang. And I hate to say this, but when I got back, Ron was really jealous because it was gifted to me. I mean I had to pay for it, but it was basically been saved for a long time, and they're waiting apparently for the right person to receive the gongs. It's kind of like batok tattoo or any other heirloom things, is like they save it and they keep it until they find the right person to receive it. So this is from master artist Faisal Monal, this is him. Right. So he's a chanter, he's a shaman, he's been keeping the set of gongs for a long time. And he said, I'm gifting this to you because he knows that, he'll take good care of it and you belong in a kulintang family. And I'm like, what do you mean? And then he's like, Ron and Danny Kalanduyan and all that stuff. So, he's already kind of like dragging me into that whole, lineage of thing. And I'm like, okay, I'm honored, thank you, and all that stuff. And then I came back and I showed it to Ron, and he was like, how come you got this? Sorry about that.
No worries, all good. We've had
So
doggies want to make themselves known on here
the
before.
dog got excited about our story.
No worries, no worries. I'll make a quick note so I can splice that. All love, all love. The wonders of editing.
Hang on a second.
No worries, all good. It actually gives me a moment because there's a person that I wanted to seek that I want to find quick. Where is that? Do you remember? Were you on that one, Tina? Who's that one kulintang player that also does stuff for Pixar that we had on? Do you remember? Do you remember? Trying to look.
People that are
It wasn't with George. It was with, I want to say with Beyond Adrian Walter. When we did the Filipino no, it wasn't that. It was with Georgina Tolentino, I think. Tangeline. Do y'all know Tangeline
Oh, yeah.
Bolton?
Oh wow.
She's my student.
Yeah, she's Ron's student.
Oh, stop playing. Amazing. I love her. We're trying to
She's
schedule a
great.
time to just have her to tell her story. She was on with Randall Comrade and Georgina Tolentino.
Yeah,
but
'cause
Tangelina is awesome.
She did the score for Georgina. Yeah.
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 See, small
so
world. Such small.
It's a very small world. So
Yeah.
anyway, I started learning, and I really opted not to learn from Ron because the heat was really hot at that time because we just started dating. So if we start like hitting the gongs and play with sticks, I'm not gonna be able to finish any song at all.
Yeah, Scott Summers was out of the picture at that point, so no.
I love your nerd bring callbacks there, Ron.
I'm home. I'm home at this show. I love this. You guys speak my language.
Yeah, and then I started learning a couple years later, I had more songs than Ron knows. And then we would gig together and we would just switch instruments and all of that stuff. And then he started like ask me to hop in on his kulintronica stuff. So, that kind of happened. And then the sad part happened where our teacher, Danny Calenduyan, passed away. And so
He became one with the force.
he became one with the force. Yeah. So in Hawaii, we have this, what we call kuleana. In Kalinga, in northern Philippines, they call it ayuan, right? It's that thing where you're holding something and you need to be really responsible for it. You hold like really huge responsibility for it. That's what we felt, Ron and I, when he passed away. Because the night that he was passing, I woke up at 4 a.m. I sat on the shitter. And, typically when you poop, you're just on your phone trying to like scan through Instagram and all that stuff. And then I got this message from one of our Gongster brother and sister, actually. And she was like, oh, Danny passed away. That night, I dreamt about him. And we were brewing up this festival. I had no idea I was gonna do a Gongsters Paradise festival in my entire life. All I know is that at that point, I'm with this kulintang player. I'm now a kulintang player, and I'm trying to perpetuate this culture and all of that stuff. In my dream, he basically was convincing me to plan this. Because I'm really an event planner and a community organizer. So he was like, you should do this festival. And I was like, okay, Master K, you should be the opener, right? And then when I woke up, he passed away. And that kind of like, when Ron was talking about like, you understand, but you don't understand, but you feel like you need to be responsible for it. And that's kind of like how we felt. So 6 months later, we were just like, okay, maybe we should gather all of his students. It started with all of his students, right? All of his students perform on stage and just kind of like showcase the ripples of his work, because there's so many. There's a lot from San Francisco to New York. He had students everywhere. And we feel like, those are unseen. And if we were only to set a stage or a spotlight to the people that have gone through him and create like, you know, kind of like present the lineage that he's created in North America. That would be really beautiful. So we both double-handedly, you know, created that event we called Gongsters Paradise. And because he became one with the Force, we kind of like rode the Star Wars theme around it. I think we even recorded like, you know, a Star Wars music around, you know, with gongs and all of that stuff. And then the way that we begin the festival is we have the scrolling text like Star Wars does, but the story is about his story and the Kulintang story and the Gong story. And, you know, we started that in 2017. 5 years later, we're already starting to plan our next year's event. And yeah, and you know, that has been, needless to say, the gongs and the kulintang music has been part of, you know, our life. It's my daughter is fortunate enough to be around it now, because for people like Ron and I, and even you guys, you know, you have to seek and search and look for it before you find it. But you know, being able to give this opportunity to the future generation to make it available and just to be a household, you know, music and instrument is, you know, something that we feel like we're responsible to do for the future generations.
Completely agree. I had to ask real quick before we move forward from that a little bit, or, you know, dip in and out. Is it Ron or is it you, Lydia? As a hip hop head myself, also rave kid as well. I'm a music person through and through. You know, what Filipino isn't, to be honest. That's it is a stereotype that we actually do have. That's very much so. Who came up and utilizing Coolio's Gangsters Paradise and flipping it to Gongsters Paradise? Or if it wasn't, if that wasn't the case, to me, it's brilliant. Was it you, Lydia, or was it you, Ron, or was that even a thought?
That was Lydia.
Oh,
that was
God.
Lydia. She's good for ideas.
Yeah, well, I was working with, you know, different things, and I don't know how I thought about it.
The playoff,
but I was thinking.
But it is, right?
I think, you know,
exactly what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, we were. It's paradise. You know, being around kulintang music, it's paradise. It's soothing. Perfect. It could be dancey. It could be like, you know, it's used to communicate. So it is paradise. And I think when I drummed up that idea, I think we were like joking around about like gong puns, right? Because like Ron's first album is Till the Break of Gong, right? And then Romeo and his friend Alex, who's part of Ala Una Music, I think they had like World Gong Crazy. So, you know, since these gongsters, these like gong heads are, you know, already drumming up all these gong puns, might as well come up with like a gong pun title. And yeah, so
brilliant.
Thank you,
I love
Coolio. I appreciate it.
Shout out to Coolio. These millennials probably don't even know who Coolio is, which is sad.
I know.
Oh no, I'm shocked.
I love it.
Well, it was perfect because we wanted to do something that took kulintang out of the museum case and just make it as current as possible. You know, we wanted to, you know, that's why we're not afraid to play with Star Wars themes or you know, hip hop themes, because we want to make it now. There's other kulintang groups and other events that do the work that you know, seek to educate about the tradition of kulintang, and we're kind of coming here to say like, okay, here's a possible future of kulintang, because I think that's where people's mindsets now is. You know, as much as we like to enjoy and learn about where we've come from, everyone's looking forward, like, where is this all going, right? And so that was why I think, you know, aside from it being hilarious and it being like the latest volley in a war between us and the Toronto kids about who's got the best gong puns, it really fit the event.
Yeah, and also to add to that, you know, we respect the traditional practitioners. I am a traditional practitioner, but at the same time, I really honor the evolution of how I can actually make something that I know and have passed on to me evolve, right? We leave that to the history books, to the historians, to the academics, and to the museums. They have a role in the world. But really, what we're trying to do is to be able to make this, because we live in a world of consumption, right? Western world, like we always consume stuff. I feel like we wake up in the morning, we have to feel like we're consuming something. And for us to make it part of that consumption ecosystem, we really have to like put it in a light where it becomes more relevant to today's world. So we had to, I don't know if Gongsters Paradise is going to be relevant 5 years later, because the people who are aware of who Coolio is, they're kind of getting gray hair at this point. But you know, at least we are kind of like trying to grow and, you know, perpetuate that music and encourage people to really bring it into their own body of work. Kulintang with hip hop, you know, electronic music, jazz music, everything else, like what have you. But you know what we do in, so the core organization is House of Gongs. What we try to do is we teach people traditionally. We kind of like, you know, because when you're a teacher or when you're kind of like the source, you give them the knowledge, it's up to them what they want to do with it, right?
Totally.
And I don't know, but you've probably had so many people who are practitioners in your show, but between Ron and I, we're not we're not the A word police. You know, because when you kind of like share your knowledge, you give that responsibility to the person. And as long as you're able to kind of like explain to them that this is the traditional way, this is how you can mix it with your body of work. And, you know, as long as you're able to talk about it and explain the lineage and, you know, something about it, then you're good to go. I mean, you know, I'm not going to go back to any of our students and say, you're doing it wrong. That's not the traditional way, you know, that's not how Danica and Leon taught it. Because even in Mindanao, when you go there, this music has evolved so much to a point where like there are really traditional pieces where it's very slow and very melodic, and then, you know, it's getting faster and more upbeat, and that's more of like the contemporary form of it, right? So and eventually it's gonna be sounding a little different than usual, but it's kind of like adobo, right? You kind of, every household has their own adobo. Some put potatoes, some put coconut milk, whatever. That's kind of kulintang music. And in this house, you know, it's electronic music. It goes with like, you know, a little bit of hip hop, a little bit of R&B, whatnot, right? And maybe in someone else's house, it's a different story, and it's okay. As long as we know the core of it, that's fine. And that's really what we're trying to do, is to be able to like have a world where it's easy to consume, it's easy to like listen to, because the more that we keep it the way that it is in a museum case, the more that it's not going to be known or be aware of. And that's really the whole point of it. And, you know, a little off tangent, that's kind of like what I'm trying to do with Daily Malong, is that you don't want to leave those woven artwork where they are in the tribes. When I was featured at Fashion Week last year, all of these people behind me, they came to me and they're like, wow, we're finally part of the map. Because that's how they feel.
Yes.
You know, and you don't want that, because they're part of this big ecosystem that we're in. And it's like, I feel like the more that we try to put them in a mirror case in a museum, the more that we're really not, you know, helping the future generation be aware of it. So I'm talking a lot, sorry.
No, I love this energy. It's like real talk. If you love music, then all music is everybody is sampled from everyone, you know. I love the Beatles, I love the Stones, but I never really liked country, I will say that. But now I have there's some country that
I am not the only one in the world who doesn't like country.
But I
If
will
there's
say
one-
there's certain songs now that I can feel the heart to it, you know. But I've never been a country guy because I grew up in the South. Yeah,
It's not.
yeah. I love all, but I love music, you know. So, and when you find certain things, you then research it if you really love music, and then you'll discover that. And I love that finding new music, that the discovery, you know, is such a beautiful thing, because then sometimes like too much hip hop, for at least for me, and then can just be, you know, it gets there's nothing original to it, so you seek out original stuff. So no, I feel that.
And
in
I'm gonna spill
giving
it
it
right
life.
now. We all appropriate each other. Like,
Let's go for real.
you know, you don't come to an artist saying that I don't want to appropriate anything, because you're an artist for a reason. You're inspired by different things in your own narrative. So you intentionally appropriate. The important thing there is you're able to explain it's authentic to yourself as a person. It doesn't have to be authentic to everybody else, right? And, you know, yeah, like hip hop music is a great example. Like, how many times is one sample being used in millions and millions of tracks,
Yeah.
right? So where do you draw the line, and how are you able to explain that is the most important thing. Because if at that point, you know, you're just getting samples and you're not giving credit, or like you don't feel like it's an equitable exchange from the source and yourself, then that's when, you know, it becomes like a red flag.
Yes.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
But, you know, we all borrow each other's vision and, you know, interpretation of things. And I think it's a beautiful thing. It's part of the ecosystem.
Exactly. There's a give and take.
And it's like you guys keep saying, that's part of what keeps traditions alive, and part of what makes it a living musical art form is that it keeps getting used, or it can be transformed, or it can be combined with other things. It can be explored in other ways.
Ron,
thank you for saying that. Thank you. So, you know, now we're at the point in our relationship where it's not just a quiet romance, you know. Now it's a house, and now it's the House of Gongs, right? Where we have people coming in to learn, and we have this festival every 2 years where we can showcase their work. And at the House of Gongs, we do have the A word, or it's actually A words. And Lydia talked about one of the A words, that's appropriation. Another A word that is used a lot in House of Gongs is the word authentic. You know, what is authentic? And I think what we were just speaking to in terms of like, you know, artists being inspired of each other, and this being like a lineage of, this artist draws from the artist before, and that artist draws from the artist before, and there's like this lineage. That's the third A word that kind of completes the picture. And all of the problems that come along with topics like appropriation and authenticity, the solution to that is you just bring in the third A word, accountability. So when I take what I've learned and I mix it with electronic dance music, you know, it's up to the audience to decide if they like it or not, and to give credit if it's due. But it's my duty, you know, it's my ayuan or my kuleana to say, you know, this part of what I did was taught to me, but this part was me, right? So don't go after my teacher for what I did, right? And that's what we teach at our teaching style at House of Gongs. Like Lydia was saying, we don't tell people you're doing it wrong. The most that we would say is, that's not how it was taught to me, and that's not how we're teaching you. As long as you know that, but you do you. Like if you want to do that and that helps you tell your story, that's on you. And we're just here to help you see that and delineate, you know, that, because if you do something to the tradition and everybody hates it, that's on you. And the flip side is that if you do something to the tradition and everybody loves it, that's also on you. Like that's your accomplishment. That's your credit.
Wow.
Yeah, and let me talk about House of Gongs real quick because we established that in 2016 when, after Danny Colombian died or passed away, there was like more interest in kulintang music, and at that time, Ron has just moved in with me, going back to the romantic part, and we're just like, let's open up our house to people who are interested to learn, and
We
you
brought
know
the mirrors too.
we still have the mirrors until now. It's in my home studio.
Right.
Yeah. So in Oakland, when in our home over there, we would invite people, all of our students or students that are interested in like, learning music, we put them through a brunch test, right? Because it's a grassroots organization and school of thought that is not really signing up for any Western systematic type of education. The way that we teach things is very different. So when we take in people who are interested in kulintang music, I would cook brunch for them. I'll cook breakfast, mostly silogs. We'll sit them down, Ron and I, and we'll talk to them, right? What is your intention? Why do you want to learn? We ask those things because it's not a one size fits all kind of a thing where you just learn these patterns and now you're a kulintang player. We try to find out where their intent is and really cater the lessons and the knowledge to them based on what their intention is. If they're just gonna do it, or if the student is just gonna use it for, something very superficial, or like, I just want to use it for, for my own knowledge. I'm not planning to perform and all that stuff. We'll give them enough amount of material that they can work with that will suit the needs that they have. But and also we find students who would just be like, I'm really committed to this is my musical background, and I was thinking that maybe if I can add kulintang music to my body of work, that kind of stuff, then we give them what they need. And then it's not perfect because we've had a ton of students in the last many years. We've had people who came in, took what they needed, and then left and flew in on their own, and that's typical in like a body of knowledge like this. So it used to be Saturdays pre-pandemic. We've got brunch, we have like the actual hour lesson, and then next thing you know, it's like a whole jam session. Sometimes it'll last us like 6 to 7 hours because people just keep on playing music. Wow. And there's a lot of conversations happening in between. Also, mind you that we called it the House of Gongs, but it's not just about kulintang music. We've got art practitioners coming in and out, martial artists, dancers. That's why those mirrors came in handy, because while a few people were playing instruments, sometimes you'll see me like pairing with someone doing eskrima, or like we'll do like some dancing in front of the mirror and all that stuff. So it was our home. We opened it and became like a little community center for a lot of people in the Bay Area. And I think that was part of what kind of like drew Ron and I even closer, right? Because like we're creating this family, and it's not really, it's not biological family, but it's a family where it keeps us alive, and at the same time it brings our goals and our vision to life. And it's basically like how we're also trying to raise our child. It's kind of like the indigenous way. You let them see it, you let them experience it, let them sit on it. It's not very rigid where you have to sit on the classroom, listen to this, read 50,000 books and all of that stuff. It's, you got to live it for you to be able to learn and go deeper into the knowledge of kulintang music and all the other living traditions that are still there.
Oh my gosh, I love this. I have so many questions, but I'm gonna hold it because I want to know more of the story here. So dope. And I'll just say, if I was living in that area, I would totally be signing up, getting in that class. But that is also going to be part of other questions I have later, because damn it, I want to like do something virtual with y'all right now because I want to learn. Anyway, so you all combine in love and you form Gongsters Paradise, you're opening your home, you're teaching these amazing students. How does Daily Malong come about now? Because as well, I know that is kind of like your thing to a degree, Lydia. With the music, it's combined with both combined love. You both do it together, but also we had mentioned Daily Malong with the fashion. And how does that kind of intertwine? Because didn't 2017, that's when the festival started, and didn't Daily Malong started that same year as well?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So this is all part of my own research work, right? As a dancer and a cultural practitioner, I went to Mindanao quite a bit, right? And Daily Malong was kind of like the interconnectivity of kulintang music and weaving. Like when you weave, there's a rhythm to it. Same thing with kulintang music, right? And you know, understanding the beautiful textiles at different parts of the Philippines, from like the Cordilleras to Mindanao. I just feel like, you know, when I touch the fabric and the textile, this can easily be a high fashion piece. And the thing is that nobody really appreciates it, or it's not seen in, you know, elsewhere. It's just kept there. People weave and it's kept there. It becomes like an heirloom piece, or it becomes like a costume, right? And it can't be just a costume in my perspective, right? You can't just be wearing these things on stage because you're representing Filipino culture in a dance performance, you know, because I've worn them many times as a dancer. And in my head, I'm just like, if there was a way to contemporize the designs and the clothing and the garments around these textiles, maybe it'll be more friendly. And it's the same kind of like mindset with the kulintang, right? You put it in your body of work and then it becomes like this beautiful music, and it's more accessible to younger generation. Same thing with textiles. And you know, all of these came vis-a-vis all of my trips around, you know, the different indigenous communities in the Philippines. It's like, if we can do music, that could be something that I could do with Ron. But at that point, I also wanted something on my own because I was ready to check out of my corporate work. I used to work in radio, work 14, 16 hours a day, and I was so tired, and I've been looking for a hustle that will really make me feel alive. And when I was traveling in Mindanao, I was carrying this piece of malong that I bought in Davao, and it was so flexible, right? It was my skirt, it was my sweater, you know, it was my blanket at night and all that stuff. So, you know, there's a level of practicality and also a level of how do we make these textiles aware, you know, in the Western world. And my principle around that is that if, you know, the way that we can, and this is also the same as Ron's teacher, I'm kind of like wording it differently. The Philippines looks up so much into Western culture that I feel like if they see diasporic communities where appreciate kulintang music, where, you know, textile woven, or, you know, hand woven textiles made garments, then the Filipino community and the indigenous communities are going to appreciate it even more. It has to come here. It's kind of like a counter colonization strategy where, you know, you want to colonize their mind, but you colonize their mind to bring them back to their roots, kind of a deal. And this goes to, you know, the weaving practice is slowly watered down because the younger generation, they're losing interest in it, right? A lot of the weavers that I work with, they're older. And when I met them, they're old. I don't know if my child's gonna want to do this and all that stuff. Now they see it on Fashion Week, they see it everywhere else. They're like, oh, I want to learn how to weave now. I want to wear this, you know, binakol print on my shirt and all of that stuff. So it becomes, the narrative becomes different. And, you know, although the strategy is a little odd that you have to bring it here first, you know, the intent is that for them to reappreciate what they really are and where they came from. We all come from, so that, you know, the living traditions continue to go and evolve as they, you know, as we move along in the future. It's all about, you know, what's the future going to look like? And you don't want this to be erased. You don't want them to be erased. We don't, you know, we just want them at this point. The goal is just to really exist. And that's how I founded Daily Malong. I started with 20 malongs. I was like, oh, let me bring back 20 malongs, see how much, you know. And then I think I posted some photos on Instagram and all that stuff, and it was gone in a week. So, you know, I was like, okay, there's a potential here. And then as it grew, you know, I decided I'm gonna leave my 8 to 5 job. I think I'm ready. And at that point, Ron was also like, hey, time is ticking. We got to start making family, you know, that kind of stuff. So I'm just like, okay, well, I can't be working radio and media all the time because it was hectic work. It was like insanity.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I'm sure.
So, you know, I left my job and I decided that this could be something that I could be doing full time, and, you know, that I would enjoy. So, you know, a few years later, here I am on my second fashion week.
Hey, let's go. Let's go.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
But yeah, I think that it's kind of like similar with the gongs, you know. It's really just making it friendly for consumption,
Yeah.
but also being able to be accountable of the work. Because if I were to put out any of these pieces and someone asked me about it, I can talk about the patterns, I can talk about who actually made it. And I actually like, you know, being able to really present on my website who was the weaver, that kind of stuff, you know, how the ecosystem has worked throughout the process.
Oh, I love this so much. You both are just helping us reconnect with the pre-colonial culture, you know, before we got all colonized. That's why I love about, that's what I love. Shout out to Christian Kabwai. I know I'm brutalizing his last name. Go to kabwai.com, KABUAY.com. Much love to him, because I learned a lot more about Babayan, our ancient scripts, with you with Kulintronica, and then you, Lydia, as well, with Daily Malong, just helping us reconnect and find that part before we got colonized and all that stuff. I love what you both are about so much, and it's going to help the next generation and future generations. So with that being said, and you guys formed, you know, the festival in 2017 and Daily Malong, how, because we're and for those that are watching this, by the way, I am planning to have them both back so we can get also more of their individual stories if time permits. I would love to deep dive, because y'all know how we do with these interviews. But right now we're celebrating their love that gave us this right now. How do you, I want to keep it on a couples tip. How do, with both of these individual things that y'all want to do, how do you all like support each other? What do you think is the key to supporting each other and pursuing these dreams and making these things happen? What has been the secret to your successes? Ron, how about you? Since we haven't heard from you in a minute.
The key, it's not a secret, you know, happy wife, happy life. That's why I always let her take the floor first. Tina agrees.
Yep.
Married.
I completely
nodding.
agree. No, I completely agree. I couldn't do it without the amazing wife that I have. Shout out to you, Ebony. I love you.
Oh, that's cute. And you know what it also is, one of my music mentors, I had this this music business teacher a long time ago, before I even pursued anything Filipino. He was this entertainment lawyer who was actually Filipino, and he said something that I never forgot. And he said, you know, your friends in the industry are the ones that will not let you quit. Cannot. So a big part of the support is, like, you know, when things get really hard, it's so much easier to just get out of this lane and just go somewhere comfortable. And it's your friends, or in my case, you know, it's my now wife, that's just like, no, you can't quit. you know, it's hard, but this will pass. You know, you just got to keep going. In fact, I'll help you. And, you know, we try to help each other as much as we can. Sometimes that help is like exactly what you need. And sometimes that help is not what you want to hear. And it's like, hey, your last one really sucked. You know, like that's medicine too, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's what it is. It's support and reminding each other like, hey, this is why we're doing this. This is who we are. Like, you know, now we have a little one, we have a daughter, and so she walks around and she's that constant reminder, like, this is why we're doing it.
Totally.
So I think to answer your question, you know, that's the key, is like, you got to keep going. Even, you know, sometimes you create something and you get that splash and you get that gratification, and other times you create something and it's just crickets, and that's when your friends come in. It's just like, hey, put your next foot in front of the other, keep going, don't stop doing it. And I that's how I would answer that. That's what's most important when doing creative work.
Totally
Yeah,
agree.
and I think the core inspiration there is that these people behind me, you know, imagine their ancestors and them have gone through many, 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 many atrocities over many, many centuries, right? Can you imagine what Gabriela Silang had gone through, Magellan, and all of our superheroes in our own way? Even our ancestor gone through wars, colonization, all of that stuff, martial law, whatever that is, right? They had kept these traditions even though all of that happened. And if nobody claps for me for one day, why would I give up? And I feel like, you know, that's kind of like, and again, that support that you get from your partner is really important. I think that's kind of like our theme, is like, our relationship is not perfect. Oh, we fight a lot when we need to, right? But like being able to sit down and have a level of respect and communication and be able to know and understand, like, okay, going back to zero and understanding this is why we're doing this, that kind of like, you know, rejuvenates the relationship into really keep pushing and moving forward. And like he said, you know, now that we have a toddler, it's an entirely different story, because now not only do we look and kind of like try to remind ourselves about our vision, we also try to remind ourselves, what world do we want to build around this child?
Completely
How do we
agree.
want her to grow up, and what kind of world do we want to have for her? You know, and even if it was just like within our little, you know, little family, it's a drop of water on a big, you know, river, right? It has ripples and it'll grow and grow. We're part of something big, and whatever we do in our own little unit, you know, will have an effect in the larger world that we belong in.
Love it. Love it.
Mm.
So, with all of that you've been doing, both individually and together, what would you say are some of the biggest lessons you've learned that you impart to others that are curious and want to pursue kind of the same avenues and dreams that you've already walked and traveled?
I mean, that's kind of you to say. I mean, we're still traveling and still trying to find that, you know, that big moment. And I think that's for our whole collective, right? For everyone on the show, is like, we're still waiting for that, that breakthrough moment, you know, like that. We're still, you know, our JLo has yet to come. Like, you know, I think of Jennifer Lopez, and, you know, for people that were there when she first came out, when she kind of had that breakthrough moment, she brought Latino music with her, you know, into the American consciousness. And I think that moment might be yet to happen, or maybe just about to happen. You know, maybe maybe Lola on Blue's Clues, or
Hey,
Ned's
shout out to
Lola on
Carolyn Faye.
Spider-Man, right? Like, we're so close to having that moment.
Yeah.
But for people that, you know, if you were to come through House of Gongs, you know, I guess virtually, you know, we're in each other's house right now, and we're in your ears. You know, I would say again, you know, listen to that voice. Like, if you have if you have something inside you that's saying like, I want to put something of myself, you know, I want to put something of my Filipino heritage, or even if it's not that, you know, something within me, I want to put that out there, but I'm afraid, you know, it's okay. Like push past that fear, like do it. Like one of my mentors, one of our mutual mentors, she came up to me once and she said, you know, oh, Ron, you know, you're doing great with this kulintang, you know, like, is this what you want to do? You want to just play Danny's music for the rest of your life? And I was like, not really. I kind of thought about, you know, maybe mixing it with like, you know, with some beats and some bass. And I don't know, I was thinking maybe doing that. And, you know, this is an elder woman, right? And she just looked at me in the eye and she's like, why don't you effing do it? I was like, oh,
let's
okay.
go.
You just have to have, you just got to have some, you know, take some courage and work past the fear, and don't let any of that stop you. Don't let the authenticity police or the appropriation police, you know, stop you from being accountable to that voice within you. Because, you know, what I believe, you know, from my perspective, like when you have those desires or that need, like it's almost like a haunting, like you're haunted by this voice saying like, do the thing. Those are your ancestors, you know, those are your family behind you trying to push you to this thing. And it's, you know, and it's just coming out to you in this mysterious way. And so again, you know, it's like, you got to listen to it and do it while you can. Because as hard as living in modern life, especially in America, as hard as it is right now with all the crazy things going on, our ancestors had it harder. You know, like I'm playing kulintang in a house that we own in, you know, a country that's, you know, we still have a lot of liberties here, and we get to enjoy that. And we can have, you know, coffee bean afterwards and have like dinner delivered to our door, where our ancestors they were making kulintang music, or making, you know, they were doing their art, their craft, while there were like people literally trying to like kill them and take their land, and they still did it and survived and did it in a way so that it's there for us today. So that's my advice. You know, don't be afraid.
Yeah. Also, to add to that, the same woman also asked me, like, you know, you should ask yourself, what is this all learning you're doing for, right? Because I think what I noticed in the diaspora is like, we have the tendency to like, oh no, I want to learn about my culture and all that stuff. So keep on learning and learning and learning and learning. And I'm guilty of that, right? I like learning. And that has brought me and that mentor together in Mindanao. We traveled together, and she eventually married both of us, by the way. That's another story. But
shout out Manay, shout out.
Hello, Manay. But yeah, so, you know, she sat me down and she's like, what do you want to do with all of this? And this was like a few years before, you know, we came up with Gongsters Paradise, House of Gongs, and Daily Malong. It was just that one question, because she likes challenging the artists that she works with. She's like the mother of many artists in the Bay Area, and you know, she's kind of like our ninang together. But she also told me that when you are trying to push through with something, right, and you have all these ideas and you want to make it happen, like what, you know, what Ron had before Kulintronica happened, is that if you're not nervous about it, then maybe you shouldn't be doing it. But there's like a level of nervousness about it. It means that it will be a breakthrough, or it's something unique, or it's something that you should follow your gut with. And then, you know, even if you've built several things, Daily Malong, Gongsters Paradise, Kulintronica, House of Gongs, whatever that is, you know, keep learning. I think it's the level of modesty that you need to keep within you and say, you know, we got to keep learning. I'm always a student forever. You know, even if I probably have some knowledge around these things, I still need to learn more. Stay hungry, stay vigilant, stay wanting to know.
I love that. I love it. Did you have some, Tina?
No.
Okay. So man, I'm just digesting all of this and so many other thoughts that we'll talk on another round. But so again, I think you both are brilliant, and I can't thank you enough from the bottom of my heart immensely, looking at you all through this camera right now, of giving us this pass renewed and keeping it going and flowing and inspiring through that art. What would you say? I'm sure you have a lot of things on your plate, but what could we say are some of the immediate goals, maybe? And what would you like to see with what you're both doing, with the culture, to take it that next foot forward? We kind of touched upon this already with this last question, but just maybe, I don't know, to add to that, and or what we can expect maybe coming up soon from you both.
Well, anyone that follows me on social media always knows that I'm always saying more gongs, and that's what it's coming in the immediate future is more gongs and more gongs after that. So I'm currently working my way through this instrumental album, and I wrote it as an album, but pivoting to the way things are changing, the way things are being consumed, I'm actually kind of releasing it as kind of like this like episodic series. So the one that's about to come out is called Stargate, and it's very space travel themed. It's very, you know, Star Trek, Farscape inspired, but it's all like electro house and kulintang. That's, you know, after Stargate comes out, then it's Event Horizon, and then it's Final Approach, and then the journey's end, you know, and that's all part of the Escape Velocity series that I'm doing now. And that's what's happening in the Kulintronica world. Elsewhere at the House of Gongs, you know, we also have a small record label with other kulintang artists. So there's a artist called Kulintang Dialect, and he's composing they're making new kulintang music written in America by Americans, but using only the gongs. So like what I'm mixing kulintang with all kinds of instruments, and they're just using the gong ensemble but writing totally new works, you know, different grooves, different tempos. So that's super exciting. We just released something called Kaluntang, which if you check out, it's got one track that shows the traditional and one track that shows the modern. And in their modern version, they set it to a different meter. They put it in a 6 meter, which is
really hard to do.
It's hard to do, and nobody really does it in the Philippines. Everything in the Philippines, as far as kulintang music, it's pretty much in a 4 meter. So that one's really exciting. And then after that, we have, you know, we've got all basically like 18 tracks of material that we need to work through. That's going to be coming out, you know, bit by bit in groups. And then Lydia mentioned Faisal Monal. He's on our label too. He's our artist in Cotabato, and we just released some more like spiritual music that has kulintang and also chanting. But we're going to be releasing his material that just shows his, you know, just his kulintang playing. You know, more music for listening pleasure, or for dance choreography as opposed to the spiritual stuff. So, you know, we're releasing lots of music. Also, I want to highlight the work of our various students. You know, Tangeline has been scoring some great stuff. We've been working with her, and we worked with Nathan M. David. You know, those are 2 film composers working out in Hollywood that are doing some really good work.
Leslie.
There's Leslie Damaso, who's doing kulintang jazz out of Wyoming, which is really exciting.
Wisconsin.
Oh my God, I keep getting those confused.
Those W
Wisconsin. The one that she's out of Mineral Point, Wisconsin. That's
yeah,
way out
and
there.
then another exciting thing is one of our students is one of Ruby Ibarra's bassists for the Balikbayans.
Oh, dope.
And I think they are about to drop a lot of music, and some of those will.
Oh, awesome. I love that.
In it.
Love that.
So yeah, and then on Spotify, if you type in Gong's Way music, that's actually gonna put you on a playlist of most of the stuff that we have produced. If there are any artists that are using gongs in their music and they're interested on signing with Gong's Way music, we would love to help them. Kind of like, you know, the goal is to really have more gongs on different playlists and different streaming services as possible, because that's what, you know, that's what kids use now.
We're dropping music like we're dropping bombs. That's why we call it Gongs Away.
I love it. When's the next Gongsters Paradise, or is it gonna be
It's next
Uh,
year,
Yeah.
2023.
Right now we are slated on May 6th, 2023 in San Francisco.
Oh, okay. So there'll be an in-person event, hopefully
Hybrid.
hybrid.
Hybrid. So
Okay.
even you can come.
Oh, awesome. So you do have a virtual aspect of it as well.
We do have a virtual aspect. So last year
Oh.
we did a completely virtual one.
Okay.
Obviously because of the pandemic, and that was actually nice because it was an opportunity for us to be able to add a lot of groups in the Philippines on the bill. Right.
Dope.
Because it's a culminating activity of different gongsters, and we'd like to show people the different ways that people use kulintang music in their music. And it would be nice to see, it's always nice to see how they do it in the Philippines. And we had like four or five groups from the Philippines at that time when we did the virtual show. So visas are always challenging. So as
Exactly.
much as, we had Faisal over the year before that, and we're hoping that we could bring a few more culture bearers and master artists from the Gongland over here, so that we can kind of like they can see how their music is being used over here, and then also they can show how they still do it from over there. But yeah, those are the immediate things.
That's awesome. I really hope in this post-pandemic world now that that events, festivals, shows continue having virtual elements to their festivals for people that can't attend and or for various reasons to connect
While
the
the
culture.
pandemic was really challenging, I think that has gifted us gave us the gift of like, well, on a family perspective, we were able to really be able to spend a lot of time with our daughter, but also on a different perspective, it kind of like opened us into a bigger world, right? Now we
Exactly.
have students from
Exactly.
LA, Wisconsin, New York, Chicago, everywhere else. Like, we're creating this same thing that we had, but not just within the Bay Area. We have people from all over the world and all over the continent and everything else. Kind of like, I think the pandemic made that happen. And, that's why we wanted to do it hybrid, so that we can also make it accessible to people that are not local to San Francisco.
So that was going to be my next question. So do you offer virtual classes to do this?
Yes, we do. We used to do it every Saturday in Oakland, but now that we are on a virtual world for the most part, we still take on students. We usually start with, so the brunch test obviously is not there anymore.
Yeah, you can't do the brunch.
Usually have,
Although I would love the salogs and come over. And
yeah,
have some
right.
food.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, also according to my husband, I cook well. So
Hey, there we go.
Anyway, so yeah, but we still do the brunch test, but on a virtual level. It's just a 15-minute kind of like intake consultation, sort of, or whatever everybody calls it. But it's just really good to have that initial conversation, even if it were virtual. It is challenging, but it is, it is what it is, and we make it work, and that kind of stuff.
So what kind of a commitment and how long would it take for somebody to get proficient to maybe, like what generally is like a plan, if I can ask that?
So usually if someone has a musical background, it's easier to finish one song. Some students, they'd finish a song in like a session, and a session lasts like an hour, right? For some students who doesn't have much background in music, maybe it'll take 2-3 sessions. We also pick the song that we choose to teach depending on the level of musical background that the student has. But yeah. And then for kids, we've taught kids too. I used to do a workshop for kids in San Francisco too. Sometimes I would start with like, okay, tap the lowest gong, tap the highest gong, do 1, 2, 3, 4. It really depends. But yeah, we try to like be able to be flexible with the learning curve of the student.
Okay, I have so many questions. We may have to do a whole thing with that too at some point, where Kuya P learns how to do the gongs. I would
do
love
it.
that.
Bring them on your journey. Bring your audience with
yeah.
you.
Yeah,
Come
that'd
with
be
me
good.
as I learn, because I just love what you both are all about, and just bringing back, you know, this culture of ours that is so important. And I try to I eat that stuff up as just who's kind of pushed away what I've learned, you know, as a growing up here in America, and wanting to connect and feel like my ancestors are living again through me, that the blood, it still runs in the veins and I still feel it, and I'm trying to bring it back. Daily Malong, what's for you, Lydia?
New
To go back
York
to
Fashion Week.
New York Fashion Week, killing it. So
September.
I love that you're bringing this into the mainstream. So is that the
Yes.
goal? Is this continue?
That's the goal. So typically people who goes to Fashion Week, their goal is to get, you know, buyers, right? I've been approached by a few buyers before, but I want to keep it sustainable. If I go to a store like Macy's, then their minimums are very high, and I'm gonna end up having to fall for, like, you know, fast fashion, and that's not what I want to be. But really, it's more about being able to, you know, show that there is value to these textiles. You know, the common perception is that, oh, those are textiles from the Philippines, they're cheap, right? But, you know, I've watched and seen the process from, like, warping, drying the thread, you know, weaving it, and then having to, like, compile them, put them together, iron them, and all that stuff. It takes a lot of work. And I feel like bringing it into a stage and a runway like Fashion Week, you know, it brings more value to the textile than what, you know, we all have put value on it in the past. So yeah, that's what's coming up for Daily Malong. I don't know. I'm deciding if I have to go to Paris or not, but we do have an invitation for Paris too.
Why wouldn't you go to Paris now? Come on.
I'll go with you.
Girl, if I can find an airline who can sponsor our flights, I would love to do it.
Yeah.
But you know, it adds up, and
Oh, yeah.
I try to keep it a little, you know, a balance, because I tried to bring the revenue, you know, 50 to 70% of it has to go back to the communities. You know, if I were to spend that much money for Paris, then, you know, it's gotta be something that, you know, it's
Got your priorities right. You got your
yeah.
priorities.
But you know, maybe in the future, the invitation is there. It's always nice to be able to have that, but yeah. But New York Fashion Week is there, so
There we go.
we'll do that for now.
Let's go. All right, we have one last nerdy question. Again, everybody that's watching this, I hope to have them both back so we can deeper dive into their individual stories, and maybe even bring, if you guys would love to come back. I consider y'all family now. When people come on, I'm like, we want to continue to give you your flowers, because again, I think we're all individually still writing our own stories. You know, right now is, you know, another big reason why we did this ShoPowSho is we don't want to wait till we're dead and we're celebrating them and telling their stories, you know. So, you know, we're writing it right now, all of us individually. So let's come back together again so we can celebrate each other and give each other those flowers. So you're always welcome and have that open invitation. So let me turn it over to Tina to close us out.
So our final question, we always want to do a little nerd check where we ask you each to tell us something that you're super nerdy about. It could be just a topic that you know a whole lot about, and it can't be the gongs, because
it can't be fashion. It has to be something we all don't know. The world may not know.
Yeah. So what are you into right now? What can you give a nerdy TED talk about? What's your favorite thing? Take turns answering that.
Some time ago, I used to be a gamer.
Yes. What did you?
Like 2 hours ago is what she means.
Wait, I was gonna get to that.
I love it.
So I used to be soaked into so much Warcraft in my life.
Oh my God.
Up the ass. Like, I literally would sit in front of my computer playing Warcraft all day long. I would forget to eat. I would forget to take a shower and all that stuff. And, I had to kind of like really work hard to be out of that hole.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be where I am right now. But the other night, so I just got my new Samsung phone because my old broke, and this is like the foldy one. And I started getting fed with these games, and I found Galactica.
Oh,
So I was dead.
that was it. That was it. You're like, well, this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life.
So bad. But yeah, that's kind of
It's
like,
so great. You can find a game that you can again just like consume so like nerdily. Like that's the best, because when you're not playing a game, it's really sad. I just recently started playing Breath of the Wild again on my Switch, and I was like,
ooh, yeah.
I really love the game.
Yeah. And it's hard because my daughter would see it and she's like, I want to do it. I want to do it. And I'm like, I'm protecting my score. I'm already on level 1.
Yo, that's real
it's
talk.
hard.
Play my game. Oh,
I love
man.
it.
Ron, what do you got for us?
I love this question. I have to, I've talked a little bit about X-Men. I love Chris Claremont's run on X-Men, and I have a copy of X-Men 1 signed by Jim Lee that I got back in 1990. I actually met Jim Lee and had him sign it at my neighborhood comic book store.
Awesome.
But lately, I don't know how this happened, but I got back into Harry Potter, and learning, making my way through those series, and musing on Cho Chang, and I learned that J.K. Rowling put a wizarding school in Japan, and I'm kind of imagining like, students from the Philippines that are like have wizard blood would probably go to that school, and learn that one. Also working my way through Marvel Phase 4. I just finished Hawkeye, just a few episodes late. I thought Haley was great.
Yes.
Lydia actually took me to a concert back in her radio days. We went to this big concert, and one of the artists canceled, and they had Haley as the substitute, and that was my first exposure to her. And so we actually saw her perform live, and she was awesome.
Dope. All right. Okay. I could definitely hang with y'all.
Yeah.
I love it.
His basement there is all Marvels.
and across the chest right now.
Oh,
What house are you
impressive.
a part of, Ron? What? Because you're a Potter.
Oh yeah,
person.
that's how it started. Is
Right?
our friend who's into the Filipino tattooing. She was like, "Oh, you got to go to Pottermore and find out what house you're on." And I was like, "Oh, sweet. I'm gonna be Gryffindor. I'm like the hero. I'm the best. And that's like my Leo side showing up." And so I take the test. Slytherin.
Oh,
wow.
I'm a Slytherin.
That's your Leo side.
I'm a Ravenclaw.
I'm a Hufflepuff.
Good mix. That's a good
Nice.
mix.
That's
Cunning. You guys got the cunning and the brains going on.
Wow. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Gongs by any means necessary. Courtesy House of Slytherin.
I love it. I love
Amazing.
Gryffindor.
All right. So what are the websites again? One more time for people that are driving in their car right now. I'll also have it in the description below, but my fans are now your fans, and we're now all family. How can we show love and support to you guys?
Oh
So-
man, go ahead, Lydia.
Yeah, House of Gongs is houseofgongs.com. You'll see some information there about Gongsway. We're also on Instagram and Facebook, House of Gongs and Gongsway Music. Daily Malong is www.dailymalong.com. That's MALONG.com. And Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, whatever you have, we're on it. That's at Daily Malong. And then, Ron, do you want to do your stuff?
Yeah, for me, everything Kulintronica. That's kulintang, electronica, Kulintronica. I just want to give a huge shout out to Tina and Kuya P. Happy birthday to Cataphoric. What you guys are doing is really huge.
Yeah.
When the world changed and the pandemic happened, it was really scary, but there was like things like what you guys are doing gives me hope. because you created this space. You know, we're really happy to be guests in your house here, and you guys are all welcome too. If you come our way to Honolulu, come visit our new house. We'll show you the actual mirrors from our date, and it's just, you know, so much gratitude. Thank you so much.
All the love, all the love. It's mutual. If you ever find yourselves here in the Washington, D.C. area where I'm at, Tina's down in Virginia Beach, where we have, you know, large Filipino population down there as well. You're most definitely welcomed. And I think Tina just had some technical issues, so she came off. She comes back in. I know she sends her love. But both you, Ron and Lydia, thank you. Salamat po. Mahal kita. Love y'all, man. I love what you both are about.
Thank you so much, Kuya P. We really appreciate you having us. And,
Definitely.
you know, your work is really appreciated. We need people like you to be able to like help us, you know, continue our work ourselves.
Oh, most definitely. I'm gonna hold y'all to that, because actually when we get off here, I got something I might want to talk to y'all about in a second. But y'all are beasts, y'all are amazing, and I look forward to hopefully building with you both into the future. Such a pleasure, y'all. Check them out, Lydia and Ron Querian. Again, all their information is going to be in the description below. Show them some love, give them the follows, give them some subscribes, all of that. Salamat po, love y'all. Mahal kita. Your boy Kuya P. ShoPowSho. Boom. There you go. Lydia and Ron Querian of KULINTRONICA, House of Gongs, Gongsters Paradise, Gongs
Nerds,
Daily MALONG. I just love that they are giving us just these elements of our culture that have somewhat been erased in a way, or just hasn't been as widely practiced as it should be. And they're still bringing that traditional stuff up and educating the masses, the next generation, on that, so we don't lose these art forms. So beautiful and so good, peoples. I can't wait to have them both on again, so we found out about the love story. I want to know their both individual journeys, how they got to that love story, because they're just good vibes, good peoples.
We gotta know their backstories.
Yeah.
Yes.
How we do.
Yeah, it was really cool to hear about how like part of like bringing back the gongs is that renaissance of the pre-colonial culture, the stuff that is like actually Filipino, which
exactly,
like, you know, is such like a nuanced term in itself, like actually Filipino, like I'm actually Filipino, but there's so many things that are actually Filipino.
That's,
you know,
stuff we want that we, before colonization happened, you know what I'm saying? The stuff that I personally thought we lost in different ways, you know, because we assimilated, we adapted to survive, right? But what,
or how many things
really
are like, you know, how many things are combinations and adopted from the colonizers, that sort of thing. So it's cool to see that bit of culture, you know, coming back again in that renaissance. And like, I really resonated with what Ron was saying, how like in his own musical journey and coming to the gongs, was that like to learn about his culture, he immersed himself in the culture, and and he found his way home. And in very much the same way we started ShoPowSho. Like,
that's exactly what I thought when he said that.
Yes,
by the way.
Yes. I was like, he said it. I was like,
that's us.
Yes, that's us. Because like it brings you closer to those parts of yourself. So I was just like, oh, you know me, scribbling my notes. So yeah, that was again like hitting those beats of like, you know, we're on the right track. We're celebrating and uplifting and discovering and celebrating in general our culture. So that was my favorite.
I love that.
My favorite takeaway.
And can we talk about though them telling us their love story and how they got together, and just how real they were keeping it? They kept it real.
Oh my God!
This guy, this who's this fake Filipino or whatever?
Right,
I forgot what she said.
Right.
I was like, go ahead,
are you
Lydia.
even Filipino?
Let's go. I love it. It was so entertaining.
Like, that was so good. And then it's like, you know, I love a good you know, not enemies to lovers love story.
Yes.
You know, he he put in the work. He put in the
He
work.
put in the work. He stayed
Mhm.
he stayed strong, and that's the woman of his dreams. He went for it.
Yes, it was beautiful.
I love love. I love love.
I love love too. let's bring more couples onto the show to share
Yes.
their love stories. That's what we should do for Valentine's Day. That's February's theme. Love.
All right, February 14th, 2023. We're gonna make it
Boom.
that week. We'll do like love story episodes or have some couples on.
Ooh,
Yeah,
yes.
I think that is our first couple we've had on, right? We've had sisters, we've had siblings,
sisters.
we've had brothers, the Bosco brothers,
Yeah.
brother and sister.
Have
But
we
this is
ever
our
had a
first couple, I believe.
Didn't we do like we interviewed the husband and then we interviewed the wife? So now we have to go back, look back at our look, guys.
Yeah,
we're
we'll have
almost
to
on
look in
100
our
episodes.
Yeah, it'll be.
I don't have
it'll
my
be
notebook
over
in
100
front of
episodes
me.
after this drops.
Right.
Yeah.
I know the answer in my other notebook. The mastermind of my notes. So, but yeah, another great interview. Just another glimpse into a different Filipino story.
Heck yeah! All the love to you both, Ron and Lydia Querian. Everybody check them out. The information is in the description below. Give them love by subscribing, checking it out. That goes a long way, y'all. As content creators, that what we do, just spreading the word means so much and helps in so many different ways. So give them a follow and check them out. And especially if you want to learn too, which I'm very intrigued by.
I want to see you.
Maybe in Hawaii, I can be here and I can learn, take a class. I want to connect with that and learn and ever learning, as was Lydia. We can't feel like we know everything. We got to keep, growing and building. And it's so beautiful. So shout out to you both. Love you both. That was so much fun. Cataphoric again. As we do, you may not be here, but you're here in spirit. We love you. We miss you. Can't wait to have you back. So Cataphoric on everything. And it's gonna be on the screen, I think, too. Even though she hasn't been here, we still got love for our homie. We still have her in the credits. She's still repped. So all the love to Kat. Tina, how can the people reach out to you?
Oh, you can check me out, me and my stuffy spa out at viva.valentina. I'm on Instagram and TikTok primarily. Check me out there. Viva.valentina. Where can they find you?
The legend Kuya P on Twitter, TikTok, and IG. Of course, here with Tina and the squad at ShoPowSho. Also have another Asian dominated podcast where I rep us in the toy form, AAPI Toy Heroes, to just continue celebrating us. And the home site for all of this is the NRW at the NRW and at Nerds Wednesday, where nerds rule the world, because we rule the world, y'all. You should be proud to be a nerd. There you go. We love y'all. Mahal kita.
Mahal kita din.
Bye. Miss y'all.
This is your friendly neighborhood kulintang player, Ron from Kulintronica.
And this is your favorite fashionista, Lydia Querian.
And we're going to be talking to the legend, Kuya P and Valentina on the ShoPowSho.
This is Lydia Querian of Daily MALONG. Filipino heritage to me is a responsibility. It's in Kalinga, we call it the ayuan, and in Hawaii, we call it kuleana. It's that responsibility that you hold, and you're supposed to be able to pass it on to the next generation. You're holding a knowledge, you're holding this very important rich element, and you're responsible in holding it and also being able to pass it on to your child.
And growing up as a Filipino American, I know the challenge of not being entirely sure of who you are and where you might fit in to where you reside. So as a parent, I want to have my daughter grow up with more information and more of a sense, and to bless her with having the confidence of knowing where she's from and being able to recite her family's history, the names of her ancestors and how she came to be where she's at now. And I think in this modern world, having that knowledge of where you came from can be your superpower that will protect you when things get tough.